Episode 10 of Shining the Light
Wow.
On. Welcome, Therese. How is it already episode 10?
I don't know, but this is amazing. And I'm really interested in today's topic because it's a can of worms that I have not found the bottom of. So
Probably
I'm
because of all the
excited.
plastic.
There's so much plastic in it, I can't find the bottom, but
Yeah.
we're going to start digging in.
Yeah, this is a big one. Plastics. This blew my mind because I had a personal experience with it where in 2020, no, like 2013-ish, I kept gaining weight. I'm gaining weight like crazy. And I'm not binge eating. And then I go and get my hormones tested through blood work. Everything looks good. So then I go get a saliva hormone test done, and my estrogen is through the roof, like 10 times higher than it was supposed to be.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, well, why? What's going on? The person who did the test at the time, because this is before I did it or was fluent, said, do you use a lot of plastics? Because if you're using a lot of plastics, eating out of plastic containers, drinking out of plastic water bottles, all these PFAs and phthalates and all these things leach into the water and the food, and you're eating it, and it builds up and creates toxic estrogen in the body and fuels this estrogen, and then it goes through the roof. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm eating out of plastic containers. I use a plastic water bottle, right? It says
Totally.
BPA free though. Like, isn't that supposed to do the trick? And it's like, oh no, like plastic is plastic in my opinion. I don't care how much, like, you know what I mean? Anyway, so it's just really interesting because that's when I started to learn about the plastics. And then you go from food, and then it's like all of these endocrine disrupting chemicals that they put in your makeup, your shampoo, your conditioner, your deodorant, your toothpaste. And then it's like, holy crap, Lululemon leggings are full of PFAs and plastics. And most women are not wearing underwear when they're wearing these, and the tank tops and the bras are against your breasts all day.
Right.
And it's like,
well, not only that, but plastic. See, what's interesting about it is when it's in its cold form, it's kind of the molecular structure is a little more stabilized. But as it heats up, it starts to release those chemicals. And so when you're wearing the clothing, right, your body is at, a typical 98.6 degrees. And the clothing is pressed up against you. Then you start moving or creating friction and exercising. The heat's going up in the areas in the groin, right? Like right where there are major drainage or lymph points as well.
Yeah.
And it's just leaching chemicals into our pores. And we've got like, what is it? Billions of mouths or millions of mouths all over our body, just like absorbing all this toxicity.
And then you think of like, okay, well, is my shirt full of plastic that I'm wearing right now? Right? Is my like blanket full of plastic that I sleep in every night? And then it can get overwhelming because it gets to the point, well, what the heck do I even buy? The stuff that's like fully without plastics is like a lot more money, which, gather things slowly. But for a lot of people, it's not realistic. People get attached to their favorite brands, right? And then we're not taught to value or prioritize or connect the dots to how this is impacting our health. And so a lot of us just stay in those familiar zones, right? And it just gets to be overwhelming since it's in everything. And that was the whole point. They wanted to design it to feel overwhelming, knowing it's in everything.
Right. I actually looked into when was plastic first invented, because I had this it feels like it was in the 40s. And I was kind of right, but kind of wrong. So the first plastic polymer compound that was created was actually 1907, which is wild. But it was like a polymer vinyl, which makes me think it was something like a tarp, something kind of sturdy and used in that way. It was definitely not used in clothing. That didn't really kick off to like late 60s, early 70s when they introduced like polyesters and rayons and things like that. So people weren't in contact with it in a way where it would be absorbed into the body. It wasn't in body care products. It wasn't in foods at all. It wasn't containing foods at all. And it really wasn't until the 1940s when plastics we started having variations of plastics available. Different polymer compounds were suddenly available. And then the ability to manufacture at a high rate kicked in the 40s. And so we then learn about better living through chemistry in the 1950s, where it's suddenly in the population, it's just everywhere, right? Everything's better with plastic. And if we look at if you're a critical thinker, you're following the money. So you're like, where is this coming from? If you look at plastic, who's making the most off of it? And of course, it's petroleum companies, because it's a petroleum-based product, right? So it's really interesting too, isn't it? Because we're also sold this idea that petrochemicals or petroleum in and of itself is what is it, an endangered resource, or it's not widely available. And yet, if that's true, how do we have plastic in everything?
Yeah, because everything is sold to us in a bit of a falsehood. I agree. That's such a great question to ask people when this lack is brought up around that resource. And I was watching something from the Food Babe on Instagram, and she's like, did you know that we eat up to a credit card's worth of plastic a week?
Well, I just heard that they're finding microplastics in the bloodstream for the first time. They've just now found it. So let's talk about microplastics, what those are, how would they get in food?
Yeah, so essentially, to me, like one of the easiest ways that they're getting into food, but anyway, they're a fragment of plastic and less than 5 millimeters in length. So really small, right? And some of them are only going to be microscopic. But the way that they're getting into food are, of course, number one, to me, the most obvious is look at the way a lot of our food is packaged. It's packaged in plastic. Look at a box of crackers. It's in a plastic bag in the box, right?
Right.
When we get our groceries, like they put everything in plastic bags. They put the produce in plastic bags. What did they sell you to store your food? Ziploc bags from the Johnson and Johnson company. I'm not sure where they're at on like the bloodline list, but like they got to be somewhere in there mixed in with everyone else, because Johnson and Johnson are like multi-trillionaires, and they have so many like Ziploc and like all these brands, right, that they own, and a lot of cleaners and stuff. Like this is another company. We should do a deep dive on them one day and see.
I mean,
because they play on the same team.
Yeah, the talc and the baby powder, the baby lotion formula, shampoos. Yeah, I mean, there's so much toxic chemicals, and they've become like a household name when it comes to baby products.
Yeah. So it's through all of the plastic water bottles, the plastic containers we're storing our food in, the plastic Ziploc bags we're putting our leftovers into, right? It's all from there absorbing into the food, in my opinion. And it seems like not a big deal, but if you're constantly putting what you're drinking and eating into plastic, it's going to get contaminated and absorbed. So to me, that's one of the biggest ways. I think that it's not just food. If there are phthalates and there are PFAs and there are all of these different chemicals being put into our hair care, body care, skin care, makeup, our clothes, like you absorb into your skin absorbs in 25 seconds. Right. So that means you're absorbing right into your body, the makeup, right? You're in the shower, your pores get even bigger. You're absorbing if you leave your shampoo and conditioner in for a while and it's got toxins and chemicals, you're absorbing that into your body so fast, right? So it's all that. It's even the innocent thing of maybe you have to open a plastic wrapper with your teeth. There is remnants of that going into your mouth. The receipts, all of the receipts are full of BPAs and chemicals that fuel these, estrogens, these excess estrogens in the body. So this is where I'm like, I get a receipt and I'm like,
yeah.
And I put it down as fast as I can and I go wash my fingers because I'm like, no, thanks. Right. But it's literally in so many different things that unless you know what to look for, you wouldn't know how to find it. Right. But to me, that's how it's getting into the body. It's all of these things. And God knows if they might be spraying some of it in the sky. Who knows? Right.
Well, at least particulates from it, if not like literal compounds, you know what I mean? Like separate things. Cause I'm like, right now, what I'm looking at right here is, so if you get the Farmer's Almanac, and you look in the back of it, there's this list. How do I send it to you? Let me see if I can. I'm going to send it to you. See if I can send it in Voxer.
Sure. And then I can, I'll
Show it
email
on
it to myself and we can show it. Yeah.
So just hold tight, everyone, because we want to show you this.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
So
I
I
just got it.
Okay, so I've sent that to you. And what it does is it breaks down the 7 types of plastic, right? And it's, I think, probably for farmers to understand how to recycle each individual plastic, but it also shows you the toxicity of each of these chemical compounds. And the scary thing is the one for food that's food safe still leaches into the product, where the one that is for like cleansing products, like your tile cleaner, the plastic bottle for that doesn't leach, but that's not the one they use for food.
Yeah. Of course
It's
not.
insane.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen so that we can see. There's us. But yeah, okay, here we go. Thank you this is such a great link here. And I'm going to share it in the chat for those of you watching live, and we can put it in the notes after too, in the description. Just bear with me here for a moment. There we go. Okay, so yeah, let's talk more about this. So we've got all these different ratings.
Oh, wait, hold a second. Is number 2 called Hope? Or no, HDPE. That looked like Hope. I was
close.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. So this rating system.
Yeah, 7's the most deadly. It's like super toxic.
Okay. Oh, look at 7, 3 and 5 gallon water jugs. Is that those big ones that you get refilled at the grocery store?
Oh gosh, now I got to go check my water jugs because they say they're,
yeah. Food containers, not surprised. Nylon, right? Lots of clothes with nylon in it. But this is the thing. It gets so overwhelming. You're like, I gotta walk around naked. I gotta like.
If you look at number 7, though, it says linked to heart disease and obesity.
I know.
Avoid.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, even number 6, disposable cups and plates. Does that include styrofoam? Because styrofoam is sketchy, right?
A possible human carcinogen.
Egg cartons, takeout containers. Here's a really easy way to absorb plastics. All the crap takeout containers that they give you that are like the styrofoam and the plastic lids, and think of all the heat and the steam, right? Like it's so easy. Foam packaging, insulation, rulers. It's recycled to make rulers. Okay. Well, don't buy a ruler that's recycled with this number 6 plastic. Don't give it to your kid. Right? But egg cartons, I think it must be the styrofoam ones from like just your big box brands.
I don't know if you've seen them, but they have like the plastic egg cartons here that have like a cardboard insert. Yeah. But it lets you see the eggs through the container.
And this is why I always suggest trying to buy more local brands and farm free range and stuff, because they're always cardboard containers fully. The ones that we get.
Right.
It's usually just the bigger box farm brands. But anyway, yeah. Number 5, ketchup bottles. Heinz. Of course, Heinz and Kraft are in cahoots with this plastic stuff.
To transmit chemicals into food.
Yeah. Your ketchup, your mustard, right? This is why it costs more for us to buy the smaller, better, cleaner ketchup, but it's a glass bottle. Right. I'd rather pay the extra $5, $6, $7. I know some people can't do that, but make your own. Like this is where get a recipe to make your own, put it in a jar, right? You can buy jars in bulk for very cheap. And some of the stuff you can make yourself. I'd rather do that. Spend a bit of extra time. You add like years of life to your life, right?
Totally.
Syrup bottles though, medicine, drinking straws. Bread and shopping bags. Yeah. Number 4 is used in bread bags, like plastic absorption, right?
Right. Known to transmit chemicals into your food. It's also used in furniture, it said. So now we're also sitting on it too. Wow.
Of course we are. Everything's made of plastic, right? And then you have number 3, cooking oil bottles. This is why we never buy plastic bottled oil of any kind. And this is what I noticed. A lot of the smaller brands that are more local use glass bottles for oils, salad dressings, preserves, jams. Like they are using glass. And again, you pay a bit more, but At least, it's not getting it filled full of plastic. Clear food packaging. We see that all the time, right? Look at everything that's covered in plastic that's vacuum sealed. Lunch meats, meats, pepperonis, sausages, cheeses, mouthwash bottles.
I'm looking at my chapstick here. It's encased in plastic.
So is mine.
And I'm rubbing it all over my face.
Yeah. It's all natural. I should actually contact this company because I know the owner, and I should ask them, because it doesn't say like which one it is. I should ask them though what they use, because they're like 100% toxin free.
Right. And I mean, that this is what's really challenging about it is we know that people aren't, the people who are running their small businesses or, day-to-day operations at stores or packaging products to ship to people. None of us are like, oh, I'm going to disrupt your hormones and I can't wait to harm you. I mean, it's the easy, available, readily available choice. Many times it's considered the most hygienic choice as well. Like, for example, I package my jewelry that I design in little plastic baggies because they're individual, never been opened. No one else has touched it. So it feels like, oh, I'm giving you the most hygienic option. But like reading this list makes me think about it. It's like, man, we don't even realize how we might in some ways be contributing. I mean, both you and I are wearing glasses.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this frame is plastic and it sits on the bridge of my nose half the time.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
I know. It's like we're so inundated with it in our current society that it's like you don't even see that it's there.
Yeah.
That's how infiltrated we are with plastic.
Yeah. And it's really become normalized because of it. Right? Like it's
well,
just,
and as you say that, what I was hearing, there was a doctor talking about table salt and how you should, there's a lot of reasons not to use table salt.
Yeah.
It's not the healthiest version. In fact, it's not even really salt. It's mostly chlorine dioxide or something like that. But he was talking about the levels of microplastics they're finding in this salt, because what they're doing is they're dragging seawater, right? And they're letting it crystallize. But our oceans are unfortunately filled with microplastics now.
Exactly.
And so it's going into the water, it's coming out of the water, going right back into us. We're eliminating it back into it's just back and forth. This plastic doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So when go ahead. Yeah.
You go ahead.
I was just going to say, so when it comes to salting your food, you really want to be using like gray sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, anything that's not coming from the ocean itself, but rather like ancient ocean beds that they're pulling from.
Yeah, exactly. And, one of the problems with us consuming and absorbing all these plastics is it causes a disruption with our endocrine hormones and especially our estrogen. And then we see people, men and women, with estrogen levels going through the roof, and it's termed as estrogen dominance. And so for women, it's tender breasts, like days and weeks leading up to your cycle. It's night sweats, even if you're not menopausal. It's weight gain. It's irregular cycles. It's moodiness. It's
breast cancer.
Yeah, of course. So if it's high for long enough and you're not doing anything to address it, it definitely can turn into that. However, you can have high estrogen and deal with it and not stay at risk, right? Because I had estrogen and dealt with it and it's not, right? But if you didn't know about it and you kept just doing what you're doing and didn't change anything, your risk is going to be significantly increased, right? And then for men, right, estrogen dominance, the breasts start to grow more, right?
Can I share
a prime example of that in men?
Can I share with you what I heard so I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he had on Dr. Shauna Swan, and she was talking about specifically phthalates. So there's different types of plastics that we have, and phthalates, now what we have, the good news is that there's a lot of clean beauty and people have really picked up on it. The more we as consumers vote with our money for plastic-free products, that are silicone-free, phthalate-free, paraben-free, all of that, the better it's going to be for us. We're going to get this out of our systems. But they were she had been funded by the NIH to do a study about phthalates in pregnant women, and did it affect the fetus? Did it affect the baby that's born? And what they found is they could really see a difference with male babies that were born. And it was directly because the plastics, the phthalates were affecting the gestation cycle at the very important point where, if testosterone is to be introduced, right? So all fetuses sort of start as neutral. And if testosterone is to be introduced, it's introduced at a specific point in the cycle, which then develops the testes and the penis. And it dictates the sexual health of the male, the male child. And what they had found is that through measuring the area between, it's the taint. I'm going to use that word, but measuring the taint.
Yeah.
What they found is that the average, that a female's taint would be about, let's say about an inch, maybe half an inch. I'm not sure what the actual measurement is, but the male counterpart, this is one thing that's consistent in almost all mammals, with the exception of very few, is that the male taint will be at least 50 to 100 times greater than the female. And that's how they can pick up an animal in a litter and look at it, just see that area and go, oh, this is a male, this is a female. That's how they can tell like that.
Totally makes sense that it'd be so different, right?
So what they were finding is that women who had high levels of phthalates in the body when pregnant and produced a male child, that the male child, it was almost indistinguishable from the female. It was that foreshortened, and that foreshortening dictated that the penis was actually going to be smaller in size, and that the testicles would produce less sperm. And so they could kind of see that this male was going to be producing less testosterone in their body, and possibly having reproductive issues later in life, as well as not achieving the average length of their penis that they would had it been uninterrupted. So there's the scary part is there's a feminizing that is happening in men just through the plastics. And we're seeing it, a lot of times what we see right now is we can see that extra estrogen, as you were saying, develop, and like the man breasts start to happen, the libido goes down, the testosterone lowers, like you were saying. But in some cases, it's already starting like before birth, this whole process, and it's all due to plastics.
Yeah. But this is the thing, right? If the mother, even the father, right, the conception, if either parent is carrying a lot of plastics, that is going to proceed into the conception and the growth of the baby, right? And the same with heavy metals, actually. Like if your parents had heavy metals when they conceived you, they're going to pass some of that on to you, right? Because they're like, how come like this child is growing up and gotten tested for heavy metals and they never got exposed to these toxins? Well, parent, like this is part of it, right? So there's just so many levels of exposure that we're not taught about, we don't learn about, but we're seeing the proof in the development. And I think that's like, nothing can trump that. It's there, and you're seeing it. And we're seeing, the links between hormone imbalances and the body hanging on to more protection. And another sign of high estrogen is a lot of inflammation, and inflammation feeds high estrogen, and the estrogen feeds inflammation. Another connection, high estrogen feeds candida, that unhealthy bacteria in the large intestine, and candida feeds estrogen and boosts your levels up. And then heavy metals feed candida, and candida feeds heavy metals, and candida feeds estrogen. So there's such a trifecta of it impacting your estrogen, feeding this unhealthy bacteria, then your gut health is compromised, your immune system's compromised, you have more inflammation. And then we see the thyroid start to go off, the cortisol, like there's so many links that this domino effect with this toxic exposure contributes to.
You are like, you're telling my life. I mean, I've been in that entire
been here. Me too. Oh my gosh. I still have the metals apparently in the candida, and they just keep feeding each other. I'm like, it's a lot some days to try.
To be fair, it's hard, and we're definitely not advocating fear on this show. It's like, don't be afraid of this. Well, one of the things I would say is you've survived already. You're going to be fine, and you can make life better. That's the goal here. It's like, how do we make this better? So let's start talking about, so you can just assume that you're a human on this planet. You've made it to a certain point. You probably got some plastics and heavy metal going on in the body. So the first things that we could obviously talk about is just avoiding it. So what are choices we could make instead that would help eliminate some of this or slow down that cycle? And, you know, I would say number one is like, well, I go right to the clean beauty, the shampoo.
Yeah.
Shampoo is it. I don't know why shampoo has such a high toxicity level, but there's so many different stories we could go into about what they put in freaking shampoo. But that's one area where I would make sure I'm using clean products. There's a really cheap brand actually at Whole Foods called Zero. And it's like, it's reasonably priced. So it's easy to get, it's affordable. I bet it's available online if you wanted it, but I think it's Pure Zero. I think that's what it's called, but it's like free of everything. And they have variety. So you can still get like for the curly hair or for frizziness or for, you know, clean scalp and stuff like that. But anything that's going on the body, like what are the clean options you can go for? And there's so many now. That's the beautiful thing, is that people have voted enough that they want that there's more and more options constantly available.
Exactly. And my two favorites are Rocky Mountain Soap Company and Carino Organics. They ship worldwide, and they have everything from bar soaps to hand soaps to shampoos, conditioners, deodorants, lip balms, like sunscreen with no chemicals. Like we're talking 100% toxin free, as many sourced organic local ingredients as possible. They have done their due diligence, and that's why they're growing so fast now, because the demand is there and they're staying true to the integrity of the product, and they're not selling out and then all of a sudden sneaking all this stuff in. So it's great.
So
you
important.
can check those two out as well. And then I think getting a better toothpaste. I know here, I'm pretty sure they ship to the States, but Green Beaver is a great toothpaste brand without fluoride or any of the junk. And I really like their flavors. They got all kinds of nice natural flavors. So you could start with that, or just start with switching your deodorant from your, you know, mainstream brands to a roll-on or a cream deodorant that's toxin free. Just start with one thing at a time, right? And you go slow with your product changeovers. To me, the other thing to change first, get rid of your plastic water bottles, get glass or metal. Like I know people like, well, heavy metals and metal. I'm like, well, glass breaks easily.
Stainless steel is pretty, I mean, it's pretty low on the leaching, I think. It's pretty safe to use. Also, I mean, the cookware that we use, like when one hits, like the nonstick cookware, you got to find the green cookware stuff. I looked and actually found, I think it's called Natural Green line of cookware that's available. You can get it on Amazon even. It's again pretty reasonably priced, but it's ceramic coated and you know it's made with a higher standard for cooking, because again, the cooking is, you know, the heat releases the chemical compounds that are in these things, and the Teflon coating in most cookware is being leached into the food. So even when you're trying to be healthy and cook for yourself, it's still a factor that you have to look at. Also, you know, switching over from, I used to be a person who'd like collect plastic containers, like, you know, the old yogurt container or something, and keep it to store food in, because I was like, oh, look at me, I'm recycling and I'm using things. And it's like, no, you got to get rid of that as well. It's just not good for you. So switching over to, you know, glass containers.
Yes, that's a huge one. Glass containers, glass or metal water bottle, a better deodorant. Those to me have been my top 3 first changes, because that's where we're absorbing the most and our food and water is getting the most easily contaminated, and then making other changes from there. Right. So we got to switch up what we're putting on our body, our skin, and what we're putting our food and water in. Start there. And then to me, the next step is starting to get out of the body some of that which has built up. Right.
Yes.
Is there anything else that we've missed with like changes? I feel like there's so many.
There's a lot you can do, but I think you nailed some really good ones. I think if you're starting with like, I would add the shampoo and the cookware, just because those are things you're in constant contact with as well. But I absolutely agree with what you're saying, that You got to think about the things that you're contacting the most. And just by making those changes, you're probably going to reduce the amount of contact that's coming into the body so much. But your next point is the point I'm excited about, because I'm thinking, okay, great. Yeah, I can go buy different clothes. I can change my products and what I use, but what about the crap that's already inside of me?
Yeah. And it's
friends.
And it will build up more easily if we have poor detoxification and if our detoxification systems aren't open properly. So this is where we want to start to gently, repeat gently, not fast and intensively, because you will probably make yourself not feel good and over detox. I've been there, you've been there. That's why I'm like, gently is the key word. Slowly.
I know you're talking to me. I know that you're doing
I did it too, man. I did it too. Trust me. Right? Like, it's not fun. So avoid the suffering you don't need by going slow and gently. But we want to open up the detoxification pathways, because if you want to get this stuff out of the body, and you just on a daily basis want your body to be eliminating properly, that we want to make sure the following are happening. Daily bowel movements. If you don't have daily bowel movements, you're reabsorbing stuff and it's easy to stay in the body, right? And a lot of this toxicity, the cholesterol, like it will bind and pull a lot of it out of the body. So take a good probiotic, drink lots of water. And if you are still struggling with constipation, I highly encourage you to get some kind of support. Like I help my clients over constipation all the time, and it's thyroid issues, dehydration, emotionally hanging on to the past, right? Not enough fiber from fruits, veg, nuts, grains, stuff like that. It can slow us down. So we want to look into all those things and get you moving daily, because that's number one. That's the first detox pathway, is your elimination via bowels. Next one, your lymphatic system, which we love this one. The lymphatic system is the garbage removal of the body. And it is often very stuck and sluggish for a lot of us because we're sitting a lot. And even if we are more active in our jobs, it can get very stuck and backed up. And then all this toxicity in the body is just building up. And our lymph nodes go into the sides of our breasts, our armpits, like all these different areas in the body, right? And it's just, we're building up this toxicity. So getting into a very simple, basic lymphatic drainage routine makes a world of difference. It will reduce retention. And I know you can.
I'm like, praise, sing it.
It's life changing.
It is.
Both of us have had very positive results with, right? Increasing your circulation, lymphatic drainage. And so with that, hot and cold shower is a really easy place to start. So it's like, go into the shower, start with the warm that you like, and then do that for about a minute, and then do 30 seconds of cooler, get used to the cold. And then go back and forth. So a minute of warm, 30 seconds of cold, cycle back and forth 3 or 4 times. This is a great way to start flushing your system and stimulating your lymphatic system. You can also add in dry brushing, right? So get a good dry brush. And then you can start with, we've learned that starting in the chest area is really important to stimulate, to open everything up. And then, do you want to talk more about that?
So this is one of the termini points, I guess, is the technical term for it. The right here at your collarbone, kind of where that dip is between your neck and your collarbone, if you just kind of gently massage, and the pressure that she said to use was like, imagine sliding a coin across your skin. So it's like, some of us like me want to just like dig in there and get it. You don't need to do that. It's like very light. And the beautiful thing is you can just do this wherever you are. It's, you can stimulate it, but, yeah, the dry brushing is great. And the stimulating the major points first. This is what I'm learning from different detox doctors who kind of focus on lymphatic drainage, is they're always talking about stimulating the major lymphatic points. Can you tell us where that, because I'm actually not sure where all of them are.
I'm not fully sure where they all are either, but there's definitely some back here.
Yeah.
Like in the back. Yeah. Whatever, the back of the neck, I guess you could say, and under. And then definitely in the armpits.
Yes.
And then the sides of the knees, that's spleen, your groin and your, the sides of your breasts.
Yeah. Like right where you would like shave if you were like trying to get rid of excess hair, you like massage in there. And then I think it's the back of the knee too. You kind of massage that part. But what's great about that is that if you don't have time to dry brush, or you're like at work and you're here listening and you're thinking about it, you could literally just start gently massaging these points like she said, like behind the ear, back of the neck, this point, and you're already stimulating, you're opening up. She said, think about this. The doctor I was listening to was like, think about it like a traffic jam happening in your body, right? So your lymph system is not only sluggish, but it's kind of blocked. And at these major points is where a traffic jam would be occurring, because they're major drainage points. So by gently stimulating them, it's almost like you're moving cars, you're moving the traffic. And then if you add the dry brushing on top of it, then all the traffic can start moving and all the system can get going again. So yeah, I'm such a huge fan. You converted me totally. I was so obstinate in the beginning. I'm like, oh, one more thing to do. And now I'm like, I have to do this. I love it so much. And after a while, I mean, it doesn't take that long when you're consistent with it to actually see it move and feel it move. I mean, that's incredible. It's been incredible.
Yeah. And the key with getting and experiencing the results is doing it consistently. If you only do it once a week or you're very irregular with it, you're not going to experience the same results as if you're doing it multiple days a week or almost every day. And it only takes a few minutes, and self-care is important. And this is your health. So be willing to take the time, because you will see the difference. So you can do that. You can also get a mini trampoline and just rebound on it. Your feet don't even leave the trampoline. It's just enough to get the body moving. Do that for 5 to 10 minutes. That will get you stimulated. So here's a tie to the bowel movements. If your lymph is sluggish, you may be constipated. You get your lymph going, your bowels will get going. Let me tell you, if I before was constipated and I got on my trampoline, I was going like 5 or 10 minutes thereafter. So it really gets everything moving, right? Yeah. So lymphatic drainage is really important and very underrated, and not enough people are doing it. It's so important for us to be doing. So that's the next one.
Absolutely. And I mean, think about it. After we've talked about like these things hanging out in the body, and they kind of stay there. I mean, they're in that system. So there's so much, it feels so good to know that there's something we can do about it. Yeah,
there's so much we can do. Water, drinking enough water, hydration, right? Flushing toxins that way is really important. So that's a really easy one. Put lemon in your water, fresh lemon, because that is so great for gently detoxing your liver. So you could throw some fresh lemon in there, right? Some people swear by things like chlorella or chlorophyll, which are gentle detoxes for the liver as well, because our liver will get very overburdened with the toxic load we already have to filter through. So those are just easy, simple, gentle ways. A dandelion tea, right? Maybe don't do all three, maybe pick one and ease into it.
Unless
gentle,
in the bathroom for a while.
Yeah, you don't want to know. You don't. Yeah. So we want to make sure the liver is supported gently. And then, of course, your skin is your biggest detoxification organ, right? So to me, this is where it's like starting to clean up the deodorants, the kinds of lotions, the shampoo and conditioner, right? Being mindful and intentional of what you are putting on your skin, because it does absorb really fast. So, again, slow changes at a pace that feels good for you. But to me, these are things that we start to do as we open up the detoxification pathways. We get them working properly. And then that's going to help us clean stuff out. And then I think, eating as close to nature as we can, like lots of greens, berries, like anything that's dark purple or red. I was going to say purple or red, right? Beets,
purple.
Yeah, beets and, cherries and blueberries and raspberries and strawberries, like all these just help aid in this gentle detoxification. Carrots and avocados are great for the liver. Putting dandelion greens in your food, if you don't mind the bitter taste, like all of these things will assist your body.
Why am I getting that good fats are really important to getting rid of I don't know why I'm making this connection, but there's a connection between fats and the plastics, like.
Man, you know what? I'm not sure about that one. Fats are just important for your hormone regulation and your nervous system and blood. They're important for everything.
Well, maybe that's the connection right there, because the plastics go after your hormones. Yeah. So
and we do need to eat enough fat to make our hormones. So maybe that's what it is. So those are, I think things you could start with and like slowly integrate to support your system. And then if you feel your hormones are off and you want to get testing, I'm happy to connect with you and talk more about that in a body freedom consultation and talk to you about the kind of support that's available. And we can see if there's estrogen dominance or thyroid or whatever might be going on too, and we can work on gently balancing things.
And I would highly recommend booking a call if the hormones are what you think is up, because it's easy to self-diagnose and we can still be very wrong. Like before I met Amber, I was like, okay, I know it's hormones. I sense it. This is what's going on. And everything I had in me led to me believing I had extreme estrogen dominance. And after working with Amber and seeing it was up there, but it wasn't as extreme as I thought. And had I not had that guidance, I may have overcorrected in the wrong direction and just created new problems. So I highly recommend working with someone like Amber who knows what they're looking at, knows what to look for and the signs, because it's easy to create new problems when you're trying to solve the first problem, right? And hormones they're tricky.
Yes.
They're really tricky, and they're something that we've got to be careful about being messed with, because out of all the parts of our body, as I understand it, hormones aren't something that easily replicate. It's kind of like if they get damaged, you're kind of at a loss.
Well, temporarily I fully believe in regulating the systems and getting them built back up, that you can regulate them normally, but sometimes that will take some time and some due diligence. Now, in this case with the estrogen, it's replicating very easily and it's building up in the body way too easily. So we actually want to work on pulling excess estrogen out of the body while we open up the detox pathways and make sure they're working properly, while we reduce your plastic load, right? So there's multiple things we're going to be working on to help if your estrogen is high, but first, you're right. We must see the levels, and then from there, take steps rather than self-diagnosing your symptoms and taking supplements. It can do more harm than good. And I've seen that. So
yeah, that would have probably been the path. I would have gone on and be like, right, I just need to add more progesterone and just
go to town and then
go
who
crazy.
knows what happens. Yeah. Don't do that, please.
Don't do that. Please.
Yeah. So should we pull some cards, ask some questions?
Yeah, I have kind of more of a conspiratorial question that I want to ask, because
conspiratorial. Let's just delete that word. I'm just kidding.
I know, but just so I can frame it for people, because it feels like it might be out of left field, but it is part of this conversation.
Yes.
So I don't know, one of the ways my intuition works is when I'm really relaxed and kind of focused on something else, information comes in. And some of the information that came in was, holy crap, the plastic boom happened right after World War II. It was like in conjunction with like middle to end of World War II. And if you're not familiar with the term Operation Paperclip, now some people think it's totally fake. I think that there's enough evidence out there to prove it's real.
Totally.
But Operation Paperclip was at the end of World War II, which was, by the way, both sides were funded by the same parties. So that's where it starts to make sense. When you know that it's been funded by the same group of people, they didn't care which side. They just, they were just, playing against each other to see which direction it was going to go. So after World War II, the Americans took the highest levels of Nazi scientists back to America. And we just kind of quietly integrated them into our society. And then suddenly we've got this boom, this explosion of new things. Now they say it was because they were working on the atomic bomb at the time. And I'm sure that was one of the projects, but I believe many projects were happening during this period. So right at the end of World War II, suddenly we've got this increase in our scientific capabilities, and we're producing so many conveniences, one of which was this mass production of plastic that wasn't happening before. Like I said, the first plastics were 1907. It was one polymer blend. And then all of a sudden in the 1940s, we've got multiple polymer blends and mass factory production to work on it with. The factories were created for World War II production, but they switched it to mass production of these different types of chemical compounds and products, therefore, of it. So I wanted to ask the cards, because the hit I got was, this was planned. They kind of knew, they had an idea of what it would do. And it was intentional to introduce all of this, and they knew it was going to have an adverse reaction on people. So I just kind of wanted to see
Yeah.
what the cards had to
I'm
say
curious
about that.
too. Really curious.
Am I on track about that? So let me ask. Whoa. Okay. That cut. So this doesn't quite make sense. Let me see if I can like, it's the 4 of Cups, which is actually like a positive emotional state or feeling like you've got everything. Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it. This is more about you've got everything, which America did. We were kind of at a high point at this point in time where we've got everything. And so this was questioning the ways in which we were doing things and considering like, how else could we move forward? So there is a bit of that going on. Let me just see if I can pull. Can you give me more information, team? Yes. Okay. So I got an ace, which is a yes. So yes. I know I can't swear on this channel, so I was just like, the saying goes, F around and find out.
Yeah.
We sort of effed around and found out. But yes, there was sort of a plan around this. They were doing testing on people. We know that was happening. There were all different sorts of experiments going on. And really, this card also represents us as the people. Because how did they introduce this to us and why did we all say yes? Why did we all lean back and take it, right? And it was through, so this card says luxury, but it also means convenience, which is how they've got us. And notice how everything gets more and more convenient. We're at a point now where we've got AI that can help us write social media posts. You don't have to think about it anymore, or help do your homework, which I know isn't supposed to be happening, but probably is, right?
Yeah.
More and more convenience. So now you don't have to go out to get food. Food can come to you, right? You don't have like there's a reason for this. It's literally lulling us into a sense of like comfort and safety and ease. And our ancestors, they didn't have these things. They did not have, and that's why it's like when you're like, okay, you want to eat healthy or grow your own food. Some people are like, great, other people grown. It's like change all the stuff you're using in your house and you grow. It's because it's like it's more work, and we got used to the levels of convenience. I mean, bottled water, that was not a thing that happened in our lifetime. I mean, it really like boomed, I think, in the 90s or something like that. Bottled water, that wasn't, if you wanted to take water with you, you probably had a thermos. That was what existed before, so every time they offer us something that's to make your life easier, you should question, do I need that? Is my life going to get better? Because there's usually some kind of agenda attached to it. 100%. And this did happen. It wasn't the only thing they were doing, but it definitely was connected, and it was connected to their bigger plans of depopulation, which is one of the major negative timeline agendas, right?
Which we're
thankfully
totally clearing out.
Oh my gosh, when the Georgia Guidestones were blown up, that was such a message that this is bullshit and it's not happening.
I totally agree. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So my question is like, okay, there's a few things coming to mind, so I'll just share what my thoughts are, and then you can formulate it into a question. So how will like the masses be taught how to clear this out or heal this, I guess, is the question, because everyone has it in a lot of it, right? When will that more perfect.
I love it. Just went, it like literally rolled out of the
perfect
deck. Okay, so yes, we will. It's already within us. This is the Hierophant. It represents inner teacher. You got to go within. All answers to everything. There is nothing here that cannot be changed. There's nothing here that's permanent. There's nothing here that, and my team's like, you guys have to remember, it's an illusion. They're like, we empathize so much that it feels real. It feels like, oh my gosh, it's happening. I'm stuck with it. There's nothing I can do. They want you to know that the atmosphere itself holds keys. It holds information, like all answers. I remember an herbalist friend told me that anytime an illness occurs in an area, its remedy will start to grow, usually as herbs will grow or flowers or something. But that's how intelligent this experience we're having is. The intelligence is alive, it's around us, it's conscious of you, and it's working with you. And the beautiful thing is you're the creator of it. You get to, you're the gatekeeper of what you will allow or block. So if you believe that this can get completely cleared out, it will get cleared out. If you are like, nope, something outside of me has to do it and say it's okay, then that will be the path forward for you, because you're creating your unique experience with the field, right? The field that we're in.
Totally.
So yes, it already exists now. So if it says this, it means it's already within you to clear it completely. Obviously, the more awareness we have and the more conscious our choices are, the harder it is, right? So it's like, as I was saying before, anytime they offer you a convenience, like to make your life more convenient, you need to step back and go, why would I need that? I like to go get my own food. I like to actually get in the car and drive if I'm going to go do it. Why? Because it keeps me conscious. It helps me go, is this a good choice? Am I making a good choice right now?
Yeah.
Do I need this? These are, in addiction, they call it barriers, right? Barriers to getting that addiction met. And what they're doing is they're constantly finding ways to drop the barriers. And we have a more addictive society because there's simply nothing causing, every time you run into a barrier, if you have an addiction, every time you run into that barrier, it causes consciousness, right? Either you're suffering because you're like, crap, I want a whole cake, let's say, but you don't have one in the house and you don't have the stuff to make it. So there's your first barrier. It makes you stop and think, do I actually want this? Then when you get in the car and you go there and you drive around and you have to find the place to get it, it's another barrier. It causes you to stay conscious of it. What convenience does is it removes those barriers and it stops you from thinking, stops you from engaging. And so one of the most powerful things we can do is simply question, do I need this? Right? Because if we let the outside world dictate to us and just kind of like the agenda dictate to us, it'll tell you, of course you need this.
Of course.
How could you live without this? Right? How could you live without this? Most of the time we can. We've done it up until the point they introduced it. We were living without it just fine. Right?
Totally. Exactly. I love that. Very empowering. It's within us. And look to people who have knowledge to help guide you until you fully know what to do yourself, right? Like, this is why we're here, to share and empower each other whilst we learn how to become attuned to and listen to our bodies.
Absolutely. The body's amazing. It holds so much wisdom. Yes. I mean, there's so much we could say. We could talk about it endlessly, but the beautiful thing is the power really, it's always going to come back to that ultimately, is the power is within you.
I agree.
It really is.
I agree. It's incredible. What a great episode. This is a biggie.
And there's so much more to say on it, but I think we touched on some major points. And let us know, what are your ideas for how to eliminate plastics in your life? What are some plastics or products that we didn't mention that you feel like people should hear about? Because everybody working together to bring this to light is really what's going to help us get over.
100%. It's about us all working together and sharing and then trying different things, because different things are going to work for all of us. But this is why we're here. So share in the comments. Feel free to share any topic ideas you want to see us come forth with in the future. Otherwise, where can everyone find you, Therese?
You can find me at blythestarlight.com. There's a lot going on my website. You can see all the services I offer and check out my shop on there as well. And of course, you can predominantly find me on Instagram as at Blythe Starlight brand. So you can check out that page. And Amber, where can they find you? And is your course open yet?
Yeah. So all my details are below in the description, but you can find everything at amberapproved.ca, from a free emotional eating quiz to schedule a 30-minute body freedom consultation if you want to talk more about hormones, your detox pathways, emotional eating, binge eating, cravings, etc. And then I have a one-on-one option, of course, and then the program I've opened up that is available for the next couple of weeks is called Body Freedom Unleashed. It's 7 months, and it is the group program if you want to really have support in a group setting, a beautiful community of women to overcome emotional eating, binge eating, work on building body love, hormone health, gut health, really the whole meal deal in a 7-month group program. So the details are below. We're still on early bird pricing and bonuses until Monday, June 5th. And then the free bonuses go away and you still have early bird savings for an extra week. So if you want
the free bonuses?
The free bonuses are, oh my gosh. Okay. Yes. I've just been saying them so much that I'm like, I feel like everyone knows, but I'm like, no, thank you for reminding me. So 7 months in the free in the Body Freedom membership, which is like self-care, mindset, ego work, and then free access to my 3 food prep magic programs. So groceries, recipe lists, recorded food prep.
So good.
Recordings, so you can learn alternatives and recipes and all my tips and tricks. It's all there and you get instant access.
That's so good right there. That's such a good bonus,
I
because
agree.
the food prep part was a part I definitely struggled with, and Amber makes it so easy.
Oh, thank you. That's what I want to show you. It can be easy and enjoyable, and you can have wonderful tasting food that doesn't have to taste like a cardboard box or boring lettuce and a chicken breast. But yeah, so those details are below. If you have questions, you can email info@amberproof.ca or comment below, but I'm excited to welcome those in that feel it is resonant.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to next week. I don't know what the topic is yet, but there's so many spicy things out there.
So many. It's hard to pick, to be honest, because there is so many things.
Like, I honestly almost said to you this morning, can we talk about this other thing? And I'm like, no, Therese, practice patience.
Maybe next week we should do that other thing. I think that would be a good one.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, sending everyone so much love. Thank you for joining us today. And we will look forward to sharing a whole new episode with you next Wednesday. Take care.